Good evening and welcome back to Let's Play Dreamfall Chapters. When we left off last time, I'm pretty sure we were about to beat the game, so let's just launch it from here because I think it might go potentially like... Well, it's not going to be right into a cutscene, right? We stopped right after the autosave. We need to rekindle the fire. So, this has got to be older Saga. Look at the eyes and everything, the hair. She's got all those bits of color and returning to her home. And Hugsy Bunny is still here.
Hugsy. He's the only creature in this little world of ours older than me. I used to think he spoke to me, and I do believe I was right about that. There's a spirit inside him, old and shy. I think Mama put him there to watch over me when she was traveling.
Is that a picture of April on the wall?
I'll have to make sure Hugsy is free to leave before my time comes. Hugsy.
So,
he's the only creature
I'm concerned because I feel like we're really winding toward the end here, and there's so many
me.
unanswered questions. Who was her mama in all this? And her papa, too. What happened between her and papa? At this point, she's old enough that I would assume that he'd passed on before her, but in the meantime, like, the last time we saw her at the house and she's saying how she hadn't seen him for so long and he's not in the house anymore, like, what's the story there? What happened? These things do, I mean, it's gotta be significant, right? Who were these people that raised her? If she's a reincarnation of April, then we saw like a dream world vision or whatever version of April when we were Zoe in the dream time, and Crow was with her, but then we saw a flash of Saga, who was reincarnated April, right, with a little young Crow on her shoulder. So I don't know, I'm a little confused. I think there's some things that just aren't that clear to me. This house that exists like in this in-between space, and there's other people that come here too, like Uncle Galeth. Who's he? How does he get into this in-between space? And the song lines, like, what are these things and how do they tie into the rest of the story? It just seems like we're getting this glimpse into this whole other story, this whole other world with all this world building behind it, and we're just getting little snippets, and I don't see how we're going to have time enough for it to really be developed. All right, let's see what she has to say. Oh, her drawing's back up.
Not bad for a 7-year-old with no idea of what was happening to her and why she was having such vivid dreams. Arcadia, Crow, the Rolling Man, the beginning of a long, long journey. That's her story, experienced with my own eyes. I still can't wrap my head round that one.
And if that's her story, is Saga also her, or is April a different person?
I'll leave them up. After all, Papa isn't around to tell me to clean up and bring them to my room.
And then this is Zoe,
Brave
right?
Zoe. It couldn't have been easy getting caught up in events and wanting nothing more than a quiet, normal life.
Well, I would say more than caught up in events, right? We learned that basically the whole point of her existence was
I believe her
affect the
daughter is
world.
still alive in the continuity, along with her grandchildren and great-grandchildren.
Oh, it's been that long, huh? So, does Saga live longer than other people, or does she just move through time differently than others?
Brave Zoe. It couldn't have been easy getting caught up in events and wanting
Tell me
nothing
about
more
Liko.
than a... Now, there's a face I haven't seen in a long time.
How well did she even know him? Well, no, right, because Kian told him to come along back to Azadir, and Saga would have been there too. So what happened with all that, right? She was adopted, she's Lady Alvane. Where's all that story?
Liko stayed true to Kian until the end, though to be honest, I always thought they were going to end up killing each other. Kian wouldn't have lived half as long without Liko by his side. That man must have saved Kian's life a dozen times. And he always claimed to regret it.
I mean, obviously he didn't. Come on, you can see that there's a deeper friendship there.
Perhaps
it's just
it was for the best that Liko didn't live to see reunification. I'm not sure the new world would have been to his liking.
This is another little nitpick. 3 games now. We've been teased with reunification, that the worlds are going to be brought together, but that's for another time. Like, are we ever gonna... It doesn't seem like they're gonna show it to us here in this game. It felt so much... It's a little unsatisfactory, right? The worlds are gonna... You'd think that would be a story worth playing through, right? The worlds being brought back together. But instead, it's like the game keeps psyching us out. Nope, this is a different tale we're telling.
Now, there's a face I haven't seen in a... I'll leave that hanging where it is.
I would expect she'd leave most of them hanging where they are. So is this Kian as the Bloodless King? Whatever that means.
Our bloodless king.
Does it mean he won without having to shed blood?
He did not enjoy
throne?
that throne. But he never complained. Not to me, at least. Even my endless teasing couldn't faze him. Oh, Kian, I miss you dearly. Not a day goes by when I don't think of you. He's been gone so long. I have a hard time recalling his voice and smile. I loved him with all my heart. I always will. Our bloodless king, my dearest Kian. I miss our long conversations. I even miss how every single one of my jokes passed over your head.
Not gonna pick it up, though?
My dearest Kian. I miss... From what I've heard, she lived a long and fulfilling life. And I know she passed the dream on, or all this wouldn't be.
All right. Oh, we can talk to Hugsy?
What's that, Hugsy? You miss Papa? I miss him too, old buddy. I'll release you when the time comes. And you can float on the winds until you find another stuffed toy in another little girl's room. What's that, Hugsy? Oh, dear old Hugsy. You're barely holding together.
Yeah, chart of the song lines. Tell me about the song lines.
Now that my life's winding down, I feel like I'm just beginning to understand song lines. But at least here they are, charted and documented. Someone may benefit from my experiences.
I feel like I understand nothing about song lines.
Perhaps I'll take one final walk along a winding path and listen to the songs and stories. Perhaps when the spring between worlds thaws the frost on the turnstiles. There's one passing right through this room now. I think I've heard this song line before. It beckons me. But I have shortbread in the oven, and my guest will be here soon.
And the guest has to be April, right? Because that's what we saw at the beginning of The Longest Journey. So are they really the same person? If they can be in the same place at the same time, one incarnation of the other, it's a bit unclear to me.
Now that my life's winding down, I would so like to go, but not now, not today. This was April's. I'm not sure how that's possible or how it ended up here, but I feel her presence in this. I mean, I always feel her presence. That's inevitable. But there is something about this talisman.
See, Saga seems to think of April as a separate individual.
The beginning and the end will connect. They always do. So much energy. Her chi is in this. It's hard sometimes to separate my own memories from what I've read and heard. April's journeys are vivid to me, but also dreamlike. I've spent so many years trying to make sense of our connection. I don't think I ever will.
Ah, so it's not really clear to her either.
She's a part of me, and she always will be. But how and why? That's a mystery. It's hard sometimes to separate. Someday, at the very end, maybe we will meet face to face before the cycle begins anew.
Now I'm trying to remember, was it April that went to her house, Lady Alvanes, at the end of the longest journey, or was it someone else?
His
guess we'll see.
feathers are a lot grayer these days, poor thing. He hates growing old even more than I do.
He's still around? Where is he?
Did I pluck it? He never sheds, or if he does, he hides it well. My lucky feather from my best friend and faithful companion. His feathers are
Okay,
a lot
we're
gray. I'll leave it be. Thank the worlds I learned to play the guitar, or I might never have discovered the song lines. When I play, I see ghosts of old songs in the air, guiding me to paths and new worlds. Papa was right about taking time to learn the guitar. Thank the worlds I learned. I'm too busy to call on the song lines tonight. But perhaps another day, when my legs don't hurt. The twin worlds became one, and decades of strife and unrest followed. Many perished, but it had to be so. Magic and science could not be divided forever. I haven't been back in decades. New Earth reminds me too much of friends long gone. But maybe I'll pay one last visit to those who remain. Some call it Starcadia. But not me, for it's a silly name.
You don't like a portmanteau
The
word,
twin
huh?
worlds became one, and decades
All right,
of
we can't try to
strife
grab
and
that.
unrest followed. The complete history of the War of the Balance and the Reunification of Worlds. Volumes 1 to 13. I've yet to make it all the way through, I'm afraid. I helped Galath with the details while he was writing it. I was there to witness it all. At least Galath was able to complete it before he traveled on to the stars. It's an impressive achievement, that history. I really should read it one day. The complete history of That's a Tale for Another Occasion.
Ah, see, always putting us off.
Worlds like that one are jarring. Everything just slightly off. It's like it was designed to keep me on edge, and I have such a hard time understanding post-physicals. Worlds like that one are jarring.
That's it.
Everything just
All right.
slightly off.
And it's looking like we're going to be
It's like
contained
it was
to this
designed
room.
to keep me on edge, and I have such a hard
Which is fine, there's
time
plenty to look at in
understanding
here.
post-physical. She came to me when I was a child. She spoke to me, comforted me. I believe we'll meet again. And maybe then the mysteries will become clear to me. The white dragon, April, me. Life's not a circle. It's a spiral. And there's an end to it, eventually. She came to me when I was a child. She spoke to me. The secret lives of stickmen. Paths, ways, and songlines. Time is a spiral.
Oh, so she learned that from a book.
Reincarnation for beginners. The House of All Worlds. My one and only book. And it is truly one book only. The Secret Lives of Stickmen. I'll sit down and read later with a good cup of tea from a floating teacup.
Oh, like Queenie drinks.
The people of Stark got a sneak peek of what reunification would be like with the collapse. For most, it was not a pleasant experience. The people of Stark got a sneak peek
Can't
of
grab
what
that.
reunification would be like with the collapse.
Go to the fireplace
For most,
last.
it was not
there's our
Rose
teacup.
loved to tinker with her creations. Now, where did those dragonflies of hers go?
Rose. Queenie tinkered around with the dragonflies, so who... Rose. I don't remember that name, Rose.
I haven't thought of Rose for nearly half a century. Where did she end up after reunification? She always spoke about going post-physical and being with her Alvin again. I would love to hear that story one day. Knowing Rose, she got what she wanted.
I do not recognize the names Rose or Alvin, and this seems like it would be really significant and like I should.
I'll make some tea to go with the shortbread later, after my guest has left. It's the comfy chair. I never could get rid of that old thing. I've traveled so many worlds, across so many ages, but I never found a chair quite as comfortable as this one. If I sit down, I don't know if I'll be able to get up again today. Still so many worlds unvisited, so many universes left to traverse, but time's running out for me. I've kept track of all my travels over the years. The multiverse is big, but I haven't done too badly. I don't think many have walked as far and as wide as me. People keep telling me I should put together an annotated map of the multiverse. But who has the time at my age? There are more important things. There. Oh, yes, I remember that place. And that strapping Coruscant farm boy. It was an enjoyable 2 weeks. Until his wife returned.
Ugh.
I had to visit Letok. I couldn't just let that mystery be. But the paths didn't lead me to them, all to that time, and I found nothing.
That's a little jarring, her comment there. Like, gross. People who cheat on their spouses and people who engage on cheating with someone with a spouse are terrible people.
It was a beautiful place, though, and I left a memorial there for the two of them. I had to visit Letok.
And then she's
couldn't just
chuckling
let
over
that
it like a
mystery
fond
be.
memory. That's awful.
But the paths
Oh,
didn't
I see
lead
she
me
never
to
got
them.
rid of the typewriter
All
after
to
all,
that
huh?
time. And why did you never come back to me, Mama? Were you really not able to find your way? Or did something else happen? Did you forget about us?
That's just so weird to me, the whole mama character. Who was she? Where did she go? What happened? It seems important to me, and it's bothering me that it's never explained. If she were just a person from Arcadia or a person from Stark, but instead she seemed to be something else altogether, and we don't get to know. I mean, there's still time. Maybe it's going to give us an answer, but it feels an awful lot like it's not
I
gonna.
refuse to believe she stayed away on purpose. and I never really believed she was dead. She might have been lost in time, like Papa always said. That would explain why she couldn't make it back. I've read her stories. They're beautiful. I've collected them all. Maybe I should try to get them published somewhere.
Okay, most of these things have 3, but let's just
Why
make
did you
sure.
never come back to me, Mom? I could never write as well as she did. So I stopped trying.
All right, what do you have to say about Papa?
Oh, Papa. Trying to keep me here with wards and old magic. I must have been such a handful for him, and a royal pain in the ass. He left his glasses when he packed his rucksack and walked out the front door. Where he was going, he didn't need spectacles.
Where was he going?
At least I got to say goodbye to him. They wouldn't do me much good. Those wards are long gone. I like to think Papa found Mama.
Maybe out
in the
searching
end,
for her.
and that they lived out their lives together somewhere green and beautiful.
It'd be nice to think they found each other, but also kind of bad in a way, because you'd think, well, if they found each other, why couldn't they find their way back to their child?
Papa never
Who knows?
gave up hope, no matter how hard I tried to convince him otherwise. If anyone deserved a happy ending, it was him. I wish Mama had come back to me, just to say goodbye. For too many years, I was so angry with her for leaving. I miss you guys so much.
All right, we got all kinds of things to look at over here.
One of my favorite worlds, vast and beautiful. It took me days to walk there, across treacherous song lines, avoiding discordants and bell strikers. I probably would never have gone unless I picked up those rumors about a Midgardian woman who suddenly appeared in the City of Three Moons. I thought,
Oh, you thought it might be Mama, huh?
I was hoping I'd find her there, but the woman had left years before. I stayed a while. It was a wonderful place, but I grew bored, as I always do. I prefer my worlds three-dimensional, thank you very much. I prefer my worlds three-dimensional, thank you very much.
What about this isn't?
The dead walked in that world. They were exceedingly polite, but it still creeped me out no end. The dead walked in that world, one of the Sylphan worlds, beautiful and peaceful as always. So naturally, I grew bored again. One of the Sylphan
She
worlds.
prefers a lot of activity, huh?
Beautiful, and one day I'll get rid of that accursed thing. It's stained with the blood of dragons, but it's too dangerous to simply discard.
So that's the Spear of Goraman then, huh? Although it's missing its fancy topper.
The silver spear
Gorman.
of Goraman, older than the twin worlds, forged in the fires of the first earth, created for one purpose, the destruction of magic. Some days I use it as a walking staff.
Well,
If we do end up taking one last journey, it'll probably be because of this blasted stick. I don't much like holding it anymore. It's thick with the blood of dragons, and heavy with broken dreams. One of my older works. I must have painted that when I was in my late teens. Come to think of it, that was an actual place. I visited there to get in touch with my ancestry. It was a strange and powerful experience. One of my older works. I won't mess with this one, but I think I'd like to revisit this particular scene in a painting. Perhaps something that goes further back, to the beginning of the journey. Dragons and dreams.
All right, let's see about starting this fire. I think we've looked at all the things there are to look at. Oh, and to the comfy chair. Excellent. Oh. Well, at the window, that's got to be Crow, right? Come on in, friend.
It's freezing out there.
She said gray, but he's like almost completely white now.
You should not have let me go outside. Ugh.
You're a big boy. What imbalance were you thinking?
Fresh air. And I was going a bit stir-crazy inside.
Oh, she can identify with
You
that.
know very well it's not safe. Paths shift with the wind between worlds, and the song lines are fragile things at the best of times.
Sounding a lot like Papa.
One discord, and you could end up lost forever. Just like...
You worry too much, old woman.
Oh, old woman? Huh? You're no spring chicken yourself, bird.
Oh, bird me. I've survived worse. Anyway, time to dry my cold feathers by a roaring fire while I enjoy a saucer of sweet sherry.
Oh, I'm sorry. I forgot to tell you. You can't.
Why?
What? I can't what?
Be here.
You're not serious. You're serious.
I'm receiving a visitor, and she mustn't see you. There'll be too many questions. Questions I can't easily answer.
And who, pray tell, is this very important visitor?
I will tell you. Afterwards. Go upstairs and warm yourself by the chimney. It won't be too long.
After all these years, I get no respect. No, don't say anything. It's fine. I'm going upstairs. Just don't expect me to come back down again later. Or ever.
Oh, you will.
I'm making shortbread.
Call me when it's ready.
All right, back to the comfy chair. Let's try it. Yep, there she is.
Welcome, April Ryan.
I feel like I'm missing something, though. We saw that at the end of The Longest Journey, and it was like, okay, so, she's continuing on doing other things, makes sense. But then, when we saw her back in Dreamfall, she was all jaded and bitter and just in Marcuria. Like, it didn't... So this scene for her would have happened sometime between those two events, the end of The Longest Journey and the beginning of Dreamfall. So, what is it? What was the significance of it? Why is this so important to her and her? Because it didn't ultimately go anywhere for her, right? And so then here we have two incarnations of herself meeting up with each other. And it seems like it's very significant, but again, I'm just not sure what the significance of it is. And I will say it feels a whole lot like maybe with the whole delayed all the stuff we heard, the Bloodless King, but we didn't really get to see that come to pass, and talking about there's going to be a war when we get back to Azadir, and then there's going to be a bigger war coming up in the future, and then the world's being reunited. Feels a whole lot like maybe they're intending to leave the story open so they could make another game in the series if they wanted to, right? If we keep delaying the really big event, the reunification of the worlds, then perhaps, room for more story. So I've been thinking about it as we're winding down towards the end here. And I think probably of these three, my favorite really just is the first one. It's a very different feel from the others. And I suppose maybe I went into the Dreamfall ones with the wrong idea, thinking of them as sequels. And it's not so much, they're not really so much sequels as they are just stories in the same universe with some of the same overlapping characters. Like, they did make the effort here to kind of loop back and tie up the end back to where The Longest Journey ended, but really these games were more Zoe's story than April's story. And I feel just even the lore changed a lot too, right? It's been much less, like, I know it had choices where the balance has shifted, but we're not really focusing on the balance or maintaining the balance throughout the Dreamfall games. It's about dreams, then this whole separate dream thing, and then especially in this third game with Saga, we have this even more separate thing about song lines and multiverses, and so it's expanding a whole lot. For me, it's kind of, I'm having a little trouble keeping up. It kind of muddies things a bit. It muddies the lore, where I'm a little unclear about what are the rules within these magic and science fiction sort of universes, right? And also they went a lot grimmer and kind of more dark and more very, very political with these Dreamfall games. Whereas The Longest Journey, I don't know, it felt, it did, we had a bit, dystopia and stuff, but it seemed a little less directly connected to things that we're experiencing in the real world. More general sort of dystopic ideas. It was worth playing through, and I enjoyed seeing what they did with the various stories. But yeah, I think I kind of like The Longest Journey best. A little more. I don't really like so much in my magic world when we have all of the. The Longest Journey, we have Magic World and we have Science World, and then we have April as the thread between them to tie these two different storylines together, and I just really liked that it was an interesting blend of science fiction and fantasy, right? Whereas when we get in the Dreamfall games, it's more suddenly our magic world has all of this like bigotry and racism and genocide and everything going on in it. And I know, and there's some magic stories, fantasy stories do explore that. The Witcher games come to mind where I think it was done very well, but that was also, it was present from the beginning, right? Like that was always a part of those worlds. And that it felt from the start that those were themes that the author wanted to explore, especially within the fantasy context. Whereas this one, it feels more like our first Longest Journey was a much more kind of traditional, whimsical magic world fun journey. There was danger to it, but it was firmly accepted by everyone that magic was a part of that world, and they didn't hate the magic or fear it, or there wasn't this humans above all else, right? There wasn't any of that going on. So that did feel a little, especially in this third installment, just kind of, it feels like it was a little forced into there. I don't know. I didn't enjoy that aspect as much. It's interesting things to think about, but it's not so much what I'm looking for out of my fantasy games generally. So I do think that probably the first was the strongest out of the three games. I do like our character of Zoe, and I have to wonder now too, she's a little bit in the same situation of April, right? Where she was this really, really important person. She had this thing to do to save the worlds, right? Save all worlds. Huge. She completed her quest, and so again, kind of like, well, what do you do now? But our snippet that we saw of her seems that she's not struggling with it necessarily in the way that Rachel did. Like, what she's going to do now is she's going to have a family, so she seemed happy when we saw her. So I'm happy for her with that, because I do think that would be a very difficult struggle to try and figure out what you're going to do. And she's been kind of lost right along from when we first met her, right? She was at a point in her life where she didn't really know where she was going or where she wanted to go, and she was struggling with that a lot. So I'm glad that she seems to have found some kind of direction, and she seems happy with it. As I said last time, my headcanon is that it is not with Reza. She's found someone else.
But I'm lonely. I don't know. I can't tell.
Let's see. Kian gets to be a king.
It's like you know.
Saga.
Longer know me.
Did she ever have a family?
Perhaps you know.
We're just seeing kind of her and Crow at the end. That doesn't mean she doesn't have a family. If she had a family, it seems like maybe, I don't know, that she'd want to raise it in that house where she grew up. For her, it seems like she has a complicated relationship with the house, right? It's her childhood home, but it was also in many ways a prison. I do want to go ahead and let these credits go the whole way. Everyone here deserves their moment. They all worked on the game. And I did enjoy it, so... Now there's another thought. Because Zoe was back in Casablanca at the end, I wonder if did she ever go back and talk to like Mira and Wit again, or was she just done with it? That'd be kind of a trippy thing, right? Think about it. So she learns that she was never, it was a physical manifestation of her dreaming self is all that was ever in Pro Past. So technically, she's never actually face-to-face met Mira and Wit. Just a manifestation of herself. That'd be kind of a weird thing to wrap your head around. So I wonder if she would reconnect with them at some point. Wonder what's going on with them, check up with them. Sully she liked, he was a good friend. Maybe that's what I'll tell myself, that she got together with Sully, done with Reza. No, that would be for that to happen, Sully would have to be a pretty bad friend to Reza, right? Don't hook up with your friend's ex. There's billions of people in the world. You can find someone else, someone that it won't hurt your friend so much for you to be with. But she did like him, and he was a friend, so I wonder if she connected with any of those people, kept in touch, see what they're doing. And Bip, what's going to happen with Bip? I made a comment about him being with his parents. What did it say? With his parents, or they needed to find his parents or something? If it's not going to tell us explicitly, I'm just going to tell myself and hope that his parents survived at Gian and he was reunited with them. I think even so, he would be bummed for Gian to leave, because he did like Gian. They were pals. And then you have to wonder, too, about the people like Firdaus and the others who were working on the engine. They're in Arcadia. So even though all of the evil plans were defeated and everything, still, there's going to be that curiosity. Part of what drove Firdaus was not... He was obviously a good guy. He was a hero. He was not evil. But he also was very interested in the technology of that, the computers and stuff, the programming. So it seems like that wouldn't be something he would necessarily just let go. That might be something that he would try to find a way to use in a non-evil sort of way, perhaps. So does that mean that there's that kind of technology developing now in Marcaria? Wonder.
But there's no need to stay up and ponder. Get out there before it's all gone. I know it's not that easy.
I suppose I should wonder what's going on with Anna.
Such a mindfuck.
She could help the resistance. That'd be a good place for her to focus her skills. Help Enu out, because she's gonna need dependable people.
Not to let go, I'm trying.
I think Enu will mean very well, and she will do her best to do a good job, but it's gonna be tough. I think she's gonna lack a lot of wisdom that you need as a leader, and hopefully she'll gain it along the way, but it would be good for her if she has some people she can depend on and some other points of view to help guide her along.
but there's
You know, I do also want to know what's going to happen with our innkeeper. Because I made things bad for him by not returning the engineer's tools, which I did not mean to do. I totally meant to return those tools. But now, after everything's said and done, is he still going to be facing whatever consequences he was facing, or is it going to end up all right for him? He could help Enu out with the resistance. All these questions I have, but I guess I get to just decide for myself how they end, unless they come up with another one. All right. Okay, well, it looks like that's the game. So, we did it. Hooray. All right, I'll go ahead and wind things down here. I don't know what game I'm going to do next yet. I'm probably just going to pick something on a whim, and that'll be what it is. So, if you want to, keep an eye out. There'll be something eventually.